चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौरभक्तवृंद। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौरभक्तवृंद। हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे, हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे, हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे, हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे, हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे, हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे, हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे, हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे, हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। जय ओम विष्णुपाद परमहंस परिविचार्य अष्टोत्तर सिद्धि डिवाइन ग्रेस एसी भक्ति वेदांत स्वामी श्री प्रभुपाद की जय। जय ओम विष्णुपाद परमहंस परिविचार्य अष्टोत्तर सिद्धि डिवाइन ग्रेस भक्ति सिद्धांत गोस्वामी महाराज प्रभुपाद की जय। अनंत कोटि वैष्णव की जय। नामाचार्य हरिदास ठाकुर की जय। प्रेम से कहो श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवासदि गौर भक्तवृंद की जय। श्री श्री राधा कृष्ण गोप गोपीनाथ श्याम कुंड राधा कुंड गिरि गोधाम की जय। वृंदावन धाम की जय, मथुरा धाम की जय, मायापुर नवदी धाम की जय, जगन्नाथपुरी धाम की जय, गंगा मई जमुना मई की जय, तुलसी देवी भक्ति देवी की जय, समवेत भक्तवृंद की जय। All glories to assembled devotees. All glories to assembled devotees. All glories to assembled devotees. All wish Guru and Gaurang.
Welcome everyone to Srimad Bhagavatam with His Holiness Jayadvaita Swami. It is Wednesday, May 14th, and today we're starting with Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 4, Chapter 14, Text 43. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Vinishchitya Vam Rasayo Vipanasya Mahipate Mamantur Uram Rasa Tatrasid Bahuko Naraha. Translation. After making a decision, the saintly persons and sages churned the thighs of the dead body of King Vena with great force and according to a specific method. As a result of this churning, a dwarf-like person was born from King Vena's body. Purport: that a person was born by the churning of the thighs of King Vena proves that the spirit soul is individual and separate from the body. The great sages and saintly persons could beget another person from the body of the dead King Vena, but it was not possible for them to bring King Vena back to life. King Vena was gone, and certainly he had taken another body. The saintly persons and sages were only concerned with the body of Vena because it was a result of the seminal succession in the family of Maharaj Dhruva. Consequently, the ingredients by which another body could be produced were there in the body of King Vena. By a certain process, when the thighs of the dead body were churned, another body came out. Although dead, the body of King Vena was preserved by drugs and by mantras chanted by King Vena's mother. In this way, the ingredients for the production of another body were there. When the body of the person named Bahuka came out of the dead body of King Vena, it was really not very astonishing. It was simply a question of knowing how to do it. From the semen of one body, another body is produced, and the life symptoms are visible due to the souls taking shelter of this body. One should not think that it was impossible for another body to come out of the dead body of Maharaj Vena. This was performed by the skillful action of the sages. Maharaj, or others, do you like to comment?
Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Preshtaya Bhutade Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Namini Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pacharine Nirbhishesha Shunyavadi Paschitya Deshatarine. Well, there's a lost technology here.
Maharaj, I'm seeing that you're frozen on my end. I wonder if it's okay. It's not just me, it's others as well. Some connection issue.
Yeah, I see that also. I'm getting breakups and so on. Let me see if I can switch to a different platform. Oh, I see. I am switched to a different platform. Okay, let me do better. Hold on. It's not impossible, but if we don't know how, then it seems very astonishing. But somehow, semen is just a material substance, and that's from that substance we get another body. So here, from the churning of the thighs of King Vena, they got another body. So by some material arrangement, some material sequence, body comes out. In any case, the living entity is different from the body, and that seems to be the focus of Srila Prabhupada's. Well, that's one point that Srila Prabhupada makes. Okay. Hare Krishna.
Hand from Kendra Prabhu.
Jai Maharaj, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
As I was reading about this this pastime today, I was thinking it's very curious that the sages had this technology up their sleeves to churn a dead body and have other bodies come out of a churned body. It just it's a technology that's, like you say, it's not we're not accustomed to it in the present day and age, but apparently this is something that was known or done also in the case of the milk ocean. There was a big
Yes.
they you know, the Lord in the form of his incarnation Ajita suggested you should churn the ocean, and you'll get all desirable things. And it after some struggle it worked out. But just the idea that there's a process undertaken under direction of higher authority that will result in something good, something desirable. It proves the importance of the system of the descending process of knowledge, because otherwise, who would, imagine that you could get a good result from churning a dead body, for example?
Yeah, there's a lot of systems of, even our modern scientific knowledge is largely handed down by succession. It's not that every scientist reinvestigates every question. The things are assumed because they're handed down, sometimes wrongly assumed, but assumed. And that's there, like in Chinese medicine and Indian medicine. You're told this works, that works. This is why this works, this is why that works. And we often see that, in fact, it does work. And there are other such knowledge traditions in other disciplines, psychology, what have you. So here, there's a hidden knowledge, a lost knowledge, a kind of technology that was known to them and is not known to us. Hare Krishna. And of course, we're more concerned with the spiritual technology. There's a method by which consciousness becomes purified. And as Prabhupada said, simply a question of knowing how to do it. Yeah.
Praveen Krishna Prabhu writes, personalities like Vritrasura or Draupadi born from fire.
Yeah.
Rari Gupta Prabhu writes, Hare Krishna Maharaj, when it says thighs, does that include the groin region rather than just the two thighs, since semen is mentioned?
I have no idea.
For our next verse, text 44, Mahesh Pandit Prabhu, are you able to read?
$44, okay. Krishno Tirhasvango Rusvabahurma Ha Hanu Vaswapani Sagro Raksha Raktasya Tamra Mrudraja. This person born from King Vena's thigh was named Bahuka, and his complexion was black as a crow's. All the limbs of his body were very short, his arms and legs were short, and his jaws were large. His nose was flat, his eyes were reddish, and his hair copper colored. So very strange looking personality came out and named Bahuka. Hare Krishna.
You like to comment, Prabhu?
I can read next one.
Oh, I just had a short
See it.
comment,
Okay.
unless Maharaj has something to say first. I found it interesting here, the Sanskrit that's used to indicate the hair is murdhaja, or literally born from the head. It reminds me of pankaja, another name for a lotus, which means born from the mud. Just appreciating Sanskrit on some small level. Hare Krishna.
Number 45. Tam tu te vanatam dinam kim karo miti vadinam nishidethya status nishat swato bhavat. He was very submissive and meek, and immediately after his birth, he bowed down and inquired, "Sir, what shall I do?" The grace replied, "Please sit down," means Nishida. Thus, Nishida, the father of the Nishid race, was born. It is said in the Shastra that the head of the body represents the Brahmanas, arm represents Kshatriya, and abdomen represents Vaishyas, and the legs, beginning with the thighs, represents the Sudras. The Sudra are sometimes called black or Krishna. The Brahmanas are called Shukla or white, and the Kshatriya and the Vaishya are a mixture of black and white. However, those who are extraordinarily white are said to have skin produced out of white leprosy. It may be concluded that white or a golden hue is the color of the higher caste, and black is the complexion of Sudras. The last one. Tasya
Maharaj, do you have any comments on this verse before we go? Okay. Maharaj,
Tasya vanshastu naishada girikana gochara yenaharas jayamano vena kalmasam ulbanam. After his Nishida's birth, he immediately took charge of all the resultant action of King Vena's sinful activities. As such, this Nisha class are always engaged in sinful activities like stealing, plundering, and hunting. Consequently, they are only allowed to live in the hills and forest. The Nishadas are not allowed to live in the cities and towns because they are sinful by nature. As such, their bodies are very ugly and their occupations are also sinful. We should, however, know that even these sinful men, who are sometimes called Kiratas, can be delivered from their sinful condition to the topmost Vaishnava platform by the mercy of a pure devotee. Engagement in the transcendental loving devotional service of the Lord can make anyone, however sinful he may be, fit to return home back to Godhead. One has only to become free from all contamination by the process of devotional service. In this way, everyone can become fit to return home back to Godhead. This is confirmed by Lord Himself in Bhagavad Gita mamam hi partha vyapasticya yepi shat papa yonina yonina स्त्रियो वैश्य तथा शूद्र ते तेपि यान्ति परम गतिम. O son of Pritha, those who take shelter of me, though they be of lower birth, woman, Vaishya, merchant, as well as Shudra, worker, can approach the supreme destination. Thus, in the Bhaktivinoda purport of the 4th canto, 14th chapter of Srimad Bhagavatam, entitled The Story of King Vena. So, in this verse, they explain that even though you born in a lower family or lower stage in the society, you still have a chance to elevate yourself and go back, perfect your life just by chanting Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. And that is given by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Well, these verses and Prabhupada's commentary, especially today, would at once raise the question of racism. The description of Bahuka and Prabhupada's comments on black people being low and then white or golden being the color of higher birth. This all certainly invites scrutiny or even outrage or rejection. So it deserves to be looked at. Of course, well, why don't we start with a letter written to one of Prabhupada's African-American disciples, Markandeya Rishi, in May of 1974, which would have been, I think, sometime after this book was first published. You've asked, what is the origin of the black race? This is not an important question. Why should you be curious about the temporary body? If I'm very interested in knowing about my clothing that I am wearing only temporarily, it is not a very important thing. We've had many bodies which we change like sets of clothes. To be very absorbed in the present body one has, whether it's black or white or yellow, is not the sign of a wise person or Krishna-conscious devotee. As to whether the personality of Kali was black, African, may not have been so. After all, Krishna is black also, although his body is different. He is Satchidananda. So our inquiries should be on the point of Krishna, not in references to the so-called race or religion or nationality of this temporary material body. So when Markandeya Rishi asks about the origin of the black race, Prabhupada essentially says, what do you care? What's it to you? You're not this body. So why should you be so interested in this body or that body, this color, that color, this race, that race? The body is just like clothing. It's a covering of the self. It's not the self. So why be preoccupied with the body? That's Prabhupada's response. We should be interested in Krishna and not with the body. Pandita Samadarshana, the saintly person or wise person sees everyone equally, regardless of the body. So why so much reference to the body? Or why so much concern? This is not the sign of a wise person. So still someone may say, well, Prabhupada's just deflecting the concern. So let's look elsewhere at a passage which really does give a Krishna conscious perspective on these matters. What I have in mind is Chaitanya Charitamrita. Let's see where that is. It's Antya Lila chapter 16, where there's a devotee named Kalidas whose aspiration was to take the remnants of as many devotees as there were in Bengal, the remnants of the food of as many devotees as there were in Bengal. Whoever was a Vaishnava, he wanted to get the mercy of the remnants of their food. And for that, he received the mercy of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. In the course of Kalidas's project, he comes to a devotee named Jaru Thakur. And Jaru Thakur was a Shudra. He was, this Kalidas, I assume, was a Brahmin. I've been a while since I read the story, but I believe he was a Brahmin. And Jaru Thakur was a Shudra. And the last thing a Brahmin would do is to eat the remnants of the food of a Shudra. You wouldn't even enter the house of a Shudra. You keep a Shudra at some distance. And here he's saying, here Kalidas is aspiring to eat the remnants of his food. And at one point, sometimes Kalidas would do this by hiding. He'd bring some mangoes or so on. Yes, the Vaishnavas would finish eating, they'd throw away their leaf dishes, and Kalidas would come out of hiding and take the leaves and lick up the remnants. And he'd also take gifts to the homes of Vaishnavas born in Shudra families. Same thing. Then he would hide and in this manner eat the remnants of the food they threw away. So there was a great Vaishnava named Jaru Thakur who belonged to the Buni Mali caste. And does he talk about that? No, anyway, it's understood that that's a low caste. And Kalidas went to his home taking mangoes with him and presented him the mangoes and offered him respectful obeisances, and also offered respectful obeisances to Jaru Thakur's wife. And he saw that Jaru Thakur, who was a saintly person, was sitting with his wife. And as soon as Jaru Thakur saw Kalidas, he also reciprocally offered obeisances. And then after some time, some discussion, Jaru Thakur said in sweet words, "I belong to a low caste. You're a very respectable guest. How can I serve you? If you permit me, I'll send some food, that means ingredients, to a Brahmin's house, and there you can take prasadam, and I'll be very happy. I'll then live comfortably. I'll be happy." And Kalidas says, "My dear sir, please bestow your mercy upon me. I've come to see you, although I am very fallen and sinful. Simply by seeing you, I have become purified. I'm very much obliged to you, for my life is now successful." My dear sir, I have one desire. Please be merciful to me by kindly placing your feet upon my head so that the dust of your feet may touch it. So Jayadvaita Thakur says, it doesn't befit you to ask this of me. I belong to a very low caste family where you're a respectable, rich gentleman. So then, Tabi Kalidasa Shloka Pari Shunaila, Shuni Jayadvaita Thakur Vora Shuka Hoila. Kalidas then recited some verses which Jayadvaita Thakur was very happy to hear. Those verses are then given in Chaitanya Charitamrita, and in the purports, Srila Prabhupada adds more in the same line. So the first verse, Name Bhaktas Chaturvedi, Name Bhaktas Chaturvedi, Mad Bhakta Swapacha Priyaha, Tasmai Deyam Tato Graham Sacha Pujo Yatahyam. This is spoken by the Lord. It's found in Hari Bhakti Vilas. Even though one is a very learned scholar in Sanskrit literature, if he's not engaged in pure devotional service, he's not accepted as my devotee. But if someone born in a family of dog eaters is a pure devotee with no motives for enjoyment through fruitive activity or mental speculation, he is very dear to me. All respect should be given to him, and whatever he offers should be accepted. For such devotees are indeed as worshipable as I am. Then Kalidas quotes this verse from Srimad Bhagavatam, spoken by Prahlad Maharaj. Viprad Vishad Gunayutad Aravinda Nabha Pada Aravinda Vimukad Swapacham Varishtam Monye Tadarpita Mano Vachanehi Tarta Pranam Punati Sakulam Natu Bhuri Mana. A person may be born in a Brahmin family and have all 12 Brahminical qualities. But if in spite of being qualified, he's not devoted to the lotus feet of Lord Krishna, Aravinda Nabha, who has a navel shaped like a lotus, he's not as good as a Chandala, who has dedicated his mind, words, activities, wealth, and life to the service of the Lord. Chandala is a very low class person, below the Shudras. Simply to take birth in a Brahmin family or to have Brahminical qualities is not sufficient. One must become a pure devotee of the Lord. If a Swapacha, a dog eater, or Chandala is a devotee, he delivers not only himself, but his whole family. Whereas a Brahmin who's not a devotee, but simply has Brahminical qualifications, cannot even purify himself, what to speak of his family. Then Kalidas quotes another celebrated verse from third canto. Aho bata swapachoto guriyan yaj jivagre vartate namatubhyam te pustapaste juhuvu sasnurarya brahmanuchur namagranantiyete. My dear Lord, anyone who always keeps your holy name on his tongue is greater than an initiated Brahmana. Although he may be born in a family of dog eaters, and therefore, by material calculations, be the lowest of men, He's glorious, nevertheless. That is the wonderful power of chanting the holy name of the Lord. One who chants the holy name is understood to have performed all kinds of austerities. He has studied all the Vedas. He has performed all the great sacrifices mentioned in the Vedas. And he has already taken his bath in all the holy places of pilgrimage. It is he who is factually the Aryan, the most elevated person. So then, hearing these quotations, Jaru Thakur says, yes, this is true. It's stated in Shastra, but it's true for one who's genuinely advanced in devotion to Krishna. That may be befitting for others, but I don't possess such spiritual power. I belong to a low class and have not even a pinch of devotion to Krishna. Then Prabhupada in the course of the purport says, Jaru Thakur presented himself as someone who belonged to a low caste, but he was actually elevated above many persons born in Brahmin families. Not only is there evidence for this in Srimad Bhagavatam, as quoted by Kalidas in the above verses, but there's also considerable evidence for this conclusion in other Shastras. And now Srila Prabhupada is going to cite many other Shastras. Mahabharata. Shudre tu yad bhavel lakshma tvijay tachcha navidyate navai shudro bhavech chudro brahmano nacha brahmana. If someone born a Shudra possesses the characteristics of a Brahmin, and someone born a Brahmin does not, that Shudra should not be known as a Shudra. And that Brahmin should not be known as a Brahmin. Again in Mahabharata, Shudra yonao ijatasya sadgunanu patishtataha arjave vartamanasya brahmanyam abhijayate. If a person born in a Shudra family has developed the qualities of a Brahmin, such as satya, truthfulness, shama, peacefulness, dhamma, self-control, and arjava, simplicity, he attains the exalted position of a Brahmin. Again, Mahabharata, stito brahmana dharmena brahmanyam upajivati kshatriyo vata vaisho va brahmabhuyach sagachati abhistu karmabhir devi shubhair acharitais tata shudro brahmanatam yati vaishakratriyatam vrajet nayonir napi samskaro nashutam nachasat tatihi karanani dvijatvasya vrittameva tu karanam. If one is factually situated in the occupation of a Brahmin, he must be considered a Brahmin, even if born in a Kshatriya or Vaishya family. O Devi, even if one is born a Shudra, if he's actually engaged in the occupation and pure behavior of a Brahmin, he becomes a Brahmin. Moreover, a Vaishya can become a Kshatriya. Therefore, neither the source of one's birth, nor his reformation, nor his education is the criterion of a Brahmin. The vritta, or occupation, is the real standard by which one is known as a Brahmin. And Prabhupada elaborates on that. And maybe we won't read the elaboration right now. Srimad Bhagavatam, Prabhupada often quotes this from 7th canto. Yasya yal lakshanam proktam pumso varnabhi vyanjakam yadan yatrapi drishyeta tat tenaiva vinirdishet. Narada says to Yudhisthira, Prabhupada summarizes it, that the symptoms of a Brahmin, Kshatriya, and Vaishya are all described in the Shastra. Therefore, if one is found exhibiting the symptoms and qualities of a Brahmin, Kshatriya, or Vaishya, and serving in a Brahminical, Kshatriya, or Vaishya occupation, even if he's not born a Brahmin, Kshatriya, or Vaishya, he should be considered such according to his qualifications and occupation. Krishna says, Guna Karma Vibhagasha, one is known to belong to a particular section according to his qualities and his work. Padma Purana, Nashudra Bhagavad Bhaktas Te tu Bhagavata Mataha Sarva Varneshu Te Shudra Yena Bhakta Janardane. A devotee should never be considered a Shudra. All the devotees of the Supreme Personality of Godhead should be recognized as Bhagavatas. If one is not a devotee of Lord Krishna, however, even if born in a Brahmin, Kshatriya, or Vaishya family, he should be considered a Shudra. In the Padma Purana, Swapakam ivaneksheta loke vipram avaishnavam Vaishnavo varno bahyo pi punati bhuvanatrayam. If a person born in a Brahmin family is an Avaishnava, a non-devotee, one should not see his face, exactly as one should not look upon the face of a Chandala or dog-eater. However, a Vaishnava found in Varnas other than Brahman can purify all the three worlds. Again, Padma Purana. Shudram va bhagavad bhaktam nishadam swapacham tata vikshate jati samanyat sayati nadakam dhruvam. One who considers a devotee of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who was born in a family of Shudras, Nishadas, or Chandalas, to belong to that particular caste, certainly goes to hell. In the Garuda Purana, Bhakti Rasta Vidha Yesha Yasmin Leche Pi Vartate Saviprendro Muni Shreshta Sagani Satrapandita. Even if one is born a mlecha, if he becomes a devotee, he's to be considered the best of the Brahmins and a learned Pandit. Then Tattvasagara, quoted by Sanatan Goswami, Yata Kanchanatam Yati Kamsyam Rasa Vidhanata Tata Diksha Vidhanena Dvijatvam Jayate Nrina. As bell metal is turned to gold when mixed with mercury in an alchemical process, one who is properly trained and initiated by a bona fide spiritual master becomes a Brahmin immediately. All this evidence found in the revealed scriptures proves that according to the Vedic version, a Vaishnava is never to be considered an Abrahmana or non-Brahmin. A Vaishnav should not be thought to belong to a lower caste, even if born in a Mlecha or Yavana family. Because he's become a devotee of Lord Krishna, he has become purified and attained the stage of a Brahmana. Dvijatam Jayate Nrinam. So I see two, and then of course Kalidas succeeds in his mission. Let's see. Jayadvaita returns to his home, leaving the marks of his feet plainly visible in many places, and Kalidas collects the dust from those footprints and smears it all over his body, and then hides in a place near Jayadvaita's home. And the Jayadvaita, upon returning home, offers the mangoes in his mind to Krishna, and he and his wife suck on them. And then Jayadvaita, after the peels and seeds are thrown out, relishes that Mahaprasad. So, and gets the mercy of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu as a result. So 2 points I pick up here. The first is that we're not the body. No living entity deserves to be identified with the body. The soul is different from the body, and therefore we have to see all living entities equally, even though the bodies may be different. And the second point is, even though there may be material differences of higher and lower in terms of the material body, a Vaishnava is always on the highest platform. And even though one may be on a high platform materially, if he's not a Vaishnava, then he's the lowest of the low. Jay Bada Shay Bhaje Shay Bada Abhakta Hinchar. Anyone who engages in the devotional service of Krishna is great. And those who are not engaged in Krishna's service are wretched and miserable. All right, Hare Krishna.
Okay, we have 2 things in the chat from Praveen Krishna Prabhu. If I am not wrong, King Guha was of the Nishada class who helped Lord Ram. Murari Gupta Prabhu writes, Maharaj, this passages are sometimes used by those opposed to Krishna consciousness to say that racism is a part of Krishna conscious. And later Murari Gupta Prabhu writes, my question was a little premature. Thank you for covering the point.
Yes.
And Saraswati Machi writes, Pranams Param Puja Maharaj and all the Vaishnavas. I recall the Nishada Raj had a friendly relationship with Lord Ram, and that race helped Lord Ram too. Also, if this race took Vena's sins, then why should the consequence be that they are now engaged in sinful actions predominantly? A guru takes the sins of a disciple, but that doesn't mean the guru will now be immersed in sinful activities.
Let me just look at this. Of course, the guru, if the guru is not spiritually elevated, he will be affected by the sinful activities of his disciples. Therefore, the guru has to be strongly situated. But it's just common understanding. If I'm born in a family of thieves, what am I likely to grow up to be? It's natural that I'll also become a thief. If I grow up in a family of intellectuals, then I may naturally take to intellectual life. If I grow up in a family of politicians, what is it? The Kennedys, they're all politicians, not just one. So these things are natural. That one is born in a certain material circumstance, he takes to a certain material way of life. That's just what we would naturally expect. But it's not invariable. Even materially, one may be different. One may take to a different way of life. One may develop different qualities. That may happen. And especially if one becomes a devotee, then he transcends all the material considerations, and he becomes above even the best of the Brahmins. I hope that's all right.
Prabhu writes, anyone in the entire world, even down to the Chandala, who lives by cooking and eating the flesh of the dog, is immediately purified if he takes bath in hearing through the ear the glorification of my name, fame, etc. Now you have realized me without doubt. Therefore, I will not hesitate to lop off my own arm if its conduct is found hostile to you. The Supreme Personality of Godhead to the Four Kumaras, Srimad Bhagavatam 3:16-6. Praveen Krishna Prabhu writes, Prabhupada in a letter, why should be sorry if someone says you are Indian, he is American. Indians are no good, Americans are good. Why be affected by bodily relationships? If Indians are bad, then I am also bad, as I am an Indian. But they have accepted an Indian as their guru. If they have accused you as bad because you are Indian, yet they have accepted a bad Indian as guru. Don't be afflicted by all these external features of our bodily relationships. Please come back, and if you feel inconvenience, it doesn't matter whether from Indians or Americans, you can live with me because I am an Indian. I hope you will feel no difficulty. You must come back when I go to Bombay.
So the Vaishnavas should not see in terms of the material bodily designations, nor should they be seen in terms of those designations. Vaishnavas should see see the relationship with Krishna. This person is a devotee, how glorious. The whole Bhatta Swapachoto Guriya. He's chanting Hare Krishna. Who's equal to this glorious soul? Oh, in that way we have to see, and not, oh, I'm an American, I'm better than the Indians, or I'm an Indian, I'm better than the Americans, or I'm Puerto Rican, or British, or this or that, so many bodily designations, or I'm born of a high family, or he's born of a low family. This is all nonsense. This is all on the material platform. It may be there. Someone's comes from a high background. That's a great credit. But if he isn't Krishna conscious, those credits are all canceled. And even if someone's born from what we'd call a low background, if he becomes a devotee, then he gets all the credits necessary. on the greater than the great, than the greatest Brahmin, Shuchi. He's the most pure. So Prabhupada saw with that vision, but therefore Bhakti Tirtha Maharaj he so much appreciated Bhakti Tirtha Maharaj, and in his last days when Bhakti Tirtha Maharaj visited Prabhupada in Vrindavan, Prabhupada was rubbing his head. You are the most pure. You are the most pure. Prabhupada, we would say, was the most pure. He was, on the highest platform of devotional service, but he was appreciating Ganesham, as he was known in those days before sannyas. You are the most pure. With this is the transcendental understanding, and that's the understanding we're meant to have. We're running out of time. Are there a couple of...
Yeah. Should I move on to Kirtan or read these? We're almost at the top. What do you think? What should I do?
Well, let's read quickly.
Okay. Panchatattva Prabhu writes, if we actually studied the Srimad Bhagavatam and its Bhaktivedanta purports up to this point in the fourth canto, it would be absurd to take these verses as racism. One has missed the entire message of Bhagavatam all the way along if one does so. Murari Gupta Prabhu writes, it's an interesting dynamic that Vaishnavas feel humble and not exalted, so that even though they may be the most exalted, they only act for Krishna's purpose and not their own.
All right, so I think we can end here and have Kirtan.
Yes, Maharaj, do you have anyone there for Kirtan?
I'm just by myself.
Okay. Madhupati Prabhu, are you able to do Kirtan by any chance? We're a bit on the later end today for Kirtan.
Okay. Namo Padaya Prasaya Bhutale Gurudas Jayadvaita Swami Niti Namine Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Iti Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvitesha Sunyavadi Asatya Deshatarine Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Sivasadi Bhakta-vrinda Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Radha Sivasadi Bhakta-vrinda Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Ram Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Yeah, Vishnu Patarman Saparvajagacharya Stotara Sada His Divine Grace Esi Bhakti Vedanta Swami Prabhupada Ki Jai. Yeah, Vishnu Patarman Saparvajagacharya Stotara Sada His Divine Grace Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Maharaj Goswami Prabhupada Ki Jai. Ananda Koti Vaishnavinda Ki Jai. नाविचार हरिदास ठाकुर की जय. प्रेम से कहो श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवसदि गौर भक्तवृंद की जय. जय श्री राधा कृष्ण गोप गोपीनाथ श्याम कुंड राधा कुंड गिरिवर्धनाथ जी की जय. वृंदावन धाम की जय. मायापुर धाम की जय. नीला सुक्षेत्र जगन्नाथ धाम की जय. भक्ति देवी की जय. गंगा यमुना की जय. श्रीमती तुलसी महारानी की जय. वेद मृदंग सुंदर बुक डिस्ट्रीब्यूशन की जय. हरि नाम संकीर्तन की जय. सर्वमित भक्त वृंद की जय. गौर प्रेमानंदे हरि हरि बोल. All glories to assembled devotees. All glories to assembled devotees. All glories to assembled devotees. All glories to Shri Shri Guru and Gauranga.
Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. His Holiness Jayadvaita Swami ki jai.
Samaveta Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai. Gaur Premanande.
Hari Hari Bol.
Hari Hari.
Thank you, Maharaj.
Thank you, Guru.
Shri Pandit Prabhu.
Thank you, Maharaj.
Thank you, Navayodhana, it sounds like. Hare Krishna. And thank you to all. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.